In the late 1950s, Yayoi Kusama arrived in New York in the hope of becoming famous and successful with her art. Galleries didn't want to show her art because she was Japanese. 13 years after World War II ended, people like Kusama were still considered the enemy because they were Japanese. She described her apartment as hell on earth. She used a door that you found on the street as a bed, and she ate food from the trash. But after a few years, she started having her own shows, and at one point, she was the first to show soft sculpture pieces. She said that nobody was doing soft sculptures back then, and later that year, her peer, Claes Oldenburg, coincidentally also debuted soft sculptures. His wife even pulled her aside and said, "Yayoi, forgive us." 1 year later, she had her first ever installation called Aggregation 1000 Boat Show. Showcased a boat covered with soft phallic forms, and she wallpapered the space with repetitive images of the boat. Andy Warhol, her friend at that time, came to visit the installation. He thought it was fantastic, and a few years later he plastered the walls in his own installation with repetitive images of a cow. Of course, nobody gave Kusama any credit. In '65, Kusama debuted her first mirror room in a very small gallery. And a few months later, the artist Luca Samaras debuted a mirror room in a more established gallery. This literally pushed Kusama over the edge. She jumped out of her window, survived, because she landed on a bike. She became paranoid and covered the windows of her studio to prevent other artists from seeing her art and copying her. After she left New York in '72, back in Japan, she checked herself into a mental hospital where she lives until today. Gladly, in Japan, living in that mental institution, she actually became famous as an artist. The thing she always expected to happen by living in New York.